Just as the patterns of atmosphere and the weaving are continuously recirculated between the surface of the Earth and the radiation belts of the magnetic field in a series of increasingly rarefied levels, so in psi information structures, psions, are continuously recirculated between the organism man and the psi bank, or holonomic brain of planet Earth. This simple, straightforward operation of the primary resonant field model is the main factor in the accounting for the diffusion and dissemination of archetypal images and process among the scattered members of the human race, particularly during the course of the first 3 stages of psychocultural development of Aboriginal, the hieratic, and the medieval. It is because of such recirculation that there could be not only diffusion of key information over vast geographical spreads, but over time as well. This phenomena is demonstrated in the illustration of the psion transfer and transformation. In this example, we are not dealing with one-to-one correspondence of image or symbol, but a resonant equivalent of psychocultural intention as well as the means of expressing that psychocultural intention. The 2 terms of this particular resonance equivalent are here early hieratic China, 3,700 to 3,100 PA, and mid-hieratic Nigeria, 1,000 to 600 PA. Both of these are pristine hieratic centers specialized in the creation of ritual bronzes, to a degree unexcelled by any of the other 5 pristine civilizations. In both cases, the ritual bronzes were manufactured in the context of highly developed systems of ancestral worship. In China, the ritual bronze production was first fully realized under the aegis of the House of Shang, the first so-called historic dynasty of China. Among the Yoruba Ife of Nigeria, the bronzes were wrought under the tutelage of great ancestral king and sky god of thunder and lightning, Shango. These Chinese bronzes, created in the early end of the hieratic civilization scale in China, are brilliantly abstract in the style that is late shamanistic animism. The Nigerian bronzes, created by the opposite end of the scale of hieratic emergence, are a summation of the purest idealistic naturalism, exemplified by a late hieratic civilization style. The dynamic that connects the Chinese ritual bronze complex with that of the Nigerian almost 4,000 years later resides in the common practice of ancestral worship. Through the transcendence of the catharsis that took place in the great Chinese rituals in which the bronzes were employed, rituals that invoked the energy and power of the ancestral figures, our particularly quality of the psion unit was released to be kept in the storage of the psi bank. Some 2,500 years later in Nigeria, when bronze casting, already accorded great cosmological significance, was linked with the ancestor and sky god worship, particularly of the great kings of Ife. The quality of energy contained in the original Chinese psions substance was released or precipitated. Of the great center of Shang it is written, "The capital of Shang was a city of cosmic order, the pivot of the four quarters. Glorious was its renown, purifying its divine powers manifested in longevity and tranquility and the protection of us who came after." Of Ife, Nigeria, where the 16 gods of the geomancy descended, it is said that there the gods came down from heaven on an iron chain to create and populate the world. Asterisk note. In the dating system of the Earth ascending, the following designations are used. PA equals pre-atomic. AH equals after Hiroshima, August 6, 1945. Therefore is the 0 point in this chronological calculation in the Chinese calendar. This date marks the germinal point of the autumn, midway between the summer solstice and autumn equinox. In the temporal version of the arrangement of the 8 Kua of I Ching, it corresponds to the Kun, the receptive 3 stacked dashes. The date August 6 also signifies the beginning point of the present Mayan calendar, August 6, 3114 BC, or 13.0.0.0.0 Mayan, or 5059 PA.